So in case you've been living under a rock, Shohei Ohtani just completed a 50-50 season, 50 home runs, and 50 stolen bases in one season. Absolutely incredible, and easily one of the best seasons, if not the best season of all time. So it got me to thinking, which other players in Major League Baseball could be the next to achieve this feat? So in this video, I'm going to come up with a player for each organization, whether they're currently in the major leagues or in the minor leagues, that I think has the best shot of being the next Shohei Ohtani, or achieving a 50-50 season. And just a disclaimer, I'm not predicting these players will have a 50-50 season. I'm just giving my opinion on who I think has the best shot at it. That doesn't necessarily mean they will achieve it, though. And also, just throwing this out there too, when I say the next Shohei Ohtani, I mean the 50-50 version, not the two-way hitter-pitcher version. So, with that said, let's get to it. Up first for the LA Angels, I'm going to go with Zach Neto. Neto's having himself a very underrated season, hitting .248 with a .753 OPS, 21 home runs, and 30 stolen bases while playing great defense at shortstop. Now, for Neto in a 50-50 season, I don't think it's going to happen. He does have the speed, I think, to be able to get close to 50 stolen bases, but I don't think he's got the power to do it. But out of anyone on the Angels, I think he's got the best shot. For the Houston Astros, I'm going to go with their top prospect, Jacob Mel, and he's having himself a decent season in the minor leagues, hitting .251 with a .730 OPS, 14 home runs, 30 stolen bases. Now, those numbers have dipped a little bit since last year, 23 home runs and 46 stolen bases in 2023. Now, he will have to take that next step forward, in my opinion, but will he get to 50-50? I'll probably bank on no. For the Oakland A's, I'm going to go with Lawrence Butler. Butler's having quite the breakout year, hitting .268 with an .837 OPS, 22 home runs, and 15 stolen bases and 380 ABs. He's got 2 games this year where he has 3 home runs in each game, and he's only 24 years old, for crying out loud. Now, with Butler, I definitely think he has the power to maybe get to 50 home runs. I'm not quite sure about the speed, though. The most stolen bases he has in a single season was back in 2021 in the minor leagues when he had 29. So, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to get to that 50-50 mark, but I do think he could be an exciting player. For the Toronto Blue Jays, I got Joey Loperfido. Loperfido came over from the Astros in the Yusei Kikuchi trade at the deadline. Now, he hasn't done too much at the major league level yet, but in the minor leagues last year, he had 25 home runs and 27 stolen bases, and he already ranks near the top when it comes to sprint speed at the major league level this year. Now, with Loperfido, in the minor leagues, he was a big ground ball hitter. He had over a 50% ground ball percentage. He is starting to try to lift the ball a little bit more, but I don't know if he's ever going to be able to get to 50 home runs. He's probably more of a 30-30 kind of a guy, but he definitely is a power speed threat. For the Atlanta Braves, I got Ronald Acuna Jr. Well, this one was easy because he had a 40-70 season back in 2023. Unfortunately, this year, his season got cut short due to his second ACL tear in his career, but Ronald Acuna Jr., we all know what he can do. He hits for power. He's got speed. It's going to be interesting to see how the Braves manage his workload when it comes to the base running, so maybe that could cap it, but hey, he got 70 stolen bases last year. I think he could still get 50, up that power a little bit. I definitely think he has a chance at 50-50 if he's healthy. For the Milwaukee Brewers, I got Jackson Chourio. Coming into the year, he was one of the top prospects in all of Major League Baseball, and for good reason. He's a great hitter with power, has speed, great defensively, a 5-tool player at only 20 years old. This guy is having a great second half. Got off to a bit of a slow start, but overall having himself a solid rookie season, hitting .271 with a .796 OPS, 21 home runs, and 20 stolen bases. Like I said, he's only 20 years old. The sky is the limit for this guy. He definitely has a chance at 50-50. For the St. Louis Cardinals, I got Jordan Walker. Now, Jordan Walker's had a lot of hype over the last couple of years, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. Has not been able to put it together, though. He's been up and down from the minor leagues over the last couple of years, but I do think he has a very bright future. He's a good hitter with a lot of power. Now, he's 6'6", 250 pounds, and only 22 years old. I think he could definitely approach 50 home runs if he puts it all together. Now, the stolen bases, I don't think so. Now, he had 22 back a couple of years ago, but I don't think he's ever going to be a 50 stolen base kind of a guy, but maybe he could get 50 home runs. For the Chicago Cubs, I got Peter Crow Armstrong. Now, Peter Crow Armstrong, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, has a ton of speed. Already has 27 stolen bases this year, but I don't think he's going to be a 50-50 guy. Now, if you take a look at the numbers from last year in 2023, 20 home runs and 37 stolen bases, so I think he has a chance to be like a 20-30, 20-40 kind of a guy, but 50-50, I'm not so sure. year. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, I got Jordan Lawlar. Now, Lawlar, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, I think could be a sneaky candidate on this list. Now, he's dealt with a lot of injuries this year. He's missed a lot of time, but last year, he showed why he was the 6th pick in the draft a few years ago. Last year, hit .278 with an .874 OPS, 20 home runs, and 36 stolen bases. I think there's more power to be tapped into. There's a good amount of raw power there. He's only 22 years old. He's 6'1", 190 pounds. I think he could even put a bit more size onto that frame. I think he could potentially be a 30, maybe a 40 home run kind of a guy while still putting up some good speed. Now, will he be a 50-50 kind of a guy? I'm not so sure. I think more, maybe that 30-30, maybe 40-40 range is more realistic for him, but 50-50, probably on the outside looking in, but I think he's going to be a great player. For the LA Dodgers, I'm not going to go with Shohei Ohtani. I'm going to go with Jose De Paula. Now, Ohtani, when he's back to pitching, is he going to be running this much? I'm not so sure about that, but when it comes to another guy in the organization, I say keep your eyes on Jose De Paula, a very intriguing prospect in my opinion. This year, having himself a decent season, hitting .268 with an .809 OPS, 10 home runs, and 27 stolen bases. Now, 10 home runs might not seem like all that much, but take a look here. He's 6'3", 185 pounds, 19 years old. There's a lot more room to fill out here. This is a big guy, and I think as he grows older, he's only going to add more power. Scouts love the raw power. The exit velocity from this guy already looks great. I think there's a chance maybe he could be a 50-50 guy down the road. We'll see, but I think he's an exciting prospect to pay attention to. For the San Francisco Giants, I got Tyler Fitzgerald. Now, I don't think he's going to be a 50-50 guy, but he's having a great season this year, hitting .293 with an .861 OPS, 14 home runs, 17 stolen bases, and last year in the minor leagues, he had 22 home runs and 32 stolen bases. So, again, he's not going to be a 50-50 guy, but a very solid player in my opinion. For the Cleveland Guardians, I got Jose Ramirez. I don't think a lot of people realize how good of a season Jose Ramirez is having. He's hitting .271 with an .839 OPS, 35 home runs, and 39 stolen bases, a career high for him. He's actually getting pretty close here to a 40-40 season. So, hey, if he can take another step forward, maybe we could end up getting a 50-50. For the Seattle Mariners, I got Julio Rodriguez. Now, out of all the players on this list, I think Julio Rodriguez is one of the players that has the best chance of getting a 50-50 season. Now, he is having a bit of a down year, only a .708 OPS, 16 home runs, 22 stolen bases, but this guy can absolutely be a star. I mean, a lot of the Mariners hitters this year were struggling big time at the plate this year, so I expect Julio Rodriguez to get himself back on track next year. But if we take a look at the numbers back from 2023, he hit 32 home runs with 37 stolen bases at only 21 years old. So yeah, I definitely think at some point J-Rod can absolutely have a 50-50 season. For the Miami Marlins, I'll go with Agustin Ramirez. They got Ramirez back in the Jazz Chisholm trade with the Yankees before the deadline this year, and he's having a great year in the minor leagues, hitting .273 with an .861 OPS, 25 home runs, 22 stolen bases. Definitely a power speed threat here, but will he get to 50 stolen bases? I'm not so sure about that. He is a catcher. You don't really see catchers steal 50 bases ever, so I'll say no on this, but there's definitely power speed here. For the New York Mets, I got Francisco Lindor. Now, if it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani and the incredible season he's having at the plate, I think Francisco Lindor would be the front runner for MVP. He's doing it all this year. He's hitting .271 with an .836 OPS, 31 home runs, 27 stolen bases, and he's playing phenomenal defense at shortstop. An all-around great season for Francisco Lindor. Now, will he get to 50-50? I don't know about that. He's probably more likely to be in that 30-30 range, in my opinion, but out of all the guys on the Mets, I think Lindor would have the best chance. I'll also shout out the brother of Ronald Acuna Jr., Luis Angel Acuna. Now, when it comes to the power, there's not really too much of it as of right now. This year, he only has 7 home runs, and the most he's had in a single season is 12, but he definitely has plenty of speed. 40 stolen bases this year, and if we take a look back in 2023, he had 57 stolen bases. So if he could somehow get that power going, I don't think he can at this point, but maybe he could have a shot at it. For the Washington Nationals, I'll go with both James Wood and Dylan Cruz. Now, when it comes to both these guys, they're pretty opposite. Now, James Wood has a lot of raw power that he has not tapped into yet. He's 22 years old, 6'7", over 230 pounds for crying out loud. Now, he's having a really solid rookie season this year, hitting .266 with a .777 OPS, 7 home runs and 14 stolen bases. Now, if we take a look last year, he had 26 home runs in the minor leagues along with 18 stolen bases. So I definitely think there is a chance he could approach that 40-50 home run mark down the road. He definitely has that power. Now, as for the stolen bases, I'm not quite sure if he's going to get to 50. Maybe they could implement more base running into his game as he gets more into his prime. We'll see. Now, as for Dylan Cruz, now I see more of a guy that's going to be more of a 30-30 kind of a guy. Maybe you could see a 40-40 guy. I just don't know if he has that 50 home run potential. I think he could approach 50 stolen bases. I think he might be on the outside looking in when it comes to the home runs, though. But I'll give these guys both a chance. If I were to lean more towards one guy, I'll say James Wood because of the raw power, and maybe he could add some base running down the road. For the Baltimore Orioles, I'll go with Gunnar Henderson. Now, if it wasn't for Aaron Judge and the ridiculous season he's having in the American League, I think Gunnar Henderson would be getting some more eyeballs towards a possible MVP. This guy's having a great year. He's hitting .282 and .902 OPS, 37 home runs, 20 stolen bases. Now, you got to remember, Gunnar Henderson, he's only 23 years old. He's 6'3", 220 pounds, already has a big frame. I definitely think he could add more power, especially when he gets into his prime years. I don't think that's a question at all. Now, when it comes to the stolen bases, he has doubled the amount of stolen bases from last year. He had 10 last year, and he's got 20 so far this year. So maybe over time, he can keep adding a few more there. I definitely think he could have a shot at 50-50 at some point. For the Philadelphia Phillies, I'll go with their top prospect, Aiden Miller, having a solid season in his second year of pro ball, hitting .261 with an .812 OPS, 11 home runs, and 23 stolen bases. Now, the 11 home runs don't seem like all that much, but with Aiden Miller, he's got a lot of raw power, good exit velocities. He's 6'1", over 200 pounds. So I definitely think he's going to add some more power over the next several years. Now, when it comes to the stolen bases, he's got 23 this year. So maybe he could build upon that over time. In my opinion, he's probably not going to be a 50-50 guy, but I definitely think he's going to be a solid power third baseman when he gets up to the major leagues and once he gets settled in. I think he'll be a solid player. Will he be 50-50? I'll probably say no, but I think he's going to be a very good player. For the San Diego Padres, I'll go with Fernando Tatis Jr. Now, it's been a bit of a wild ride for Tatis. He missed all of 2022 due to injuries and testing positive to PEDs. Last year, he moved from shortstop to the outfield, which he ended up doing pretty well in. And this year, he's been dealing with some injuries. So, seems like he's still trying to get his career fully on track here, but we all know what this guy can do when he's healthy and at the top of his game. I mean, he already showed the power speed combo just back in 2021. He had 42 home runs that year with 25 stolen bases, and even back last year had 25 home runs and 29 stolen bases. Now, he's only 25 years old. I definitely think there's a chance, especially when he goes into his prime years, he could be a 50-50 guy. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, I'll go with O'Neal Cruz. If you want both power and speed, this is definitely one of the guys you got to keep your eyes on. O'Neal Cruz is an absolute alien. He's 6'7", over 200 pounds, has exit velocity for days, and he's quite quick out there as well. And this year, he's having a pretty solid year, hitting .266 with a 780 OPS, 19 home runs, a career high for him so far, and 22 stolen bases. I say over the next few years, keep building on this. I definitely think he could approach 50-50. For the Texas Rangers, I'll go with Wyatt Langford. Now, I feel like Langford is one of the more sneaky players on this list because I don't think people realize how quick this guy is. Now, we all know about the power. He was hitting home runs for days at the University of Florida before getting drafted 4th overall by the Rangers last year, but this guy has speed as well. Now, for the season, he's having an okay year. A lot of people were thinking he was going to be Rookie of the Year. He had an amazing spring training, and, there were even talks of him being on the World Series roster last year. He was that good. Now, this year, he's hitting .253 with a 726 OPS, 12 home runs, and 15 stolen bases. Now, because of the power that he showed at UF, I definitely think he could approach 50 home runs at some point in his career. But I say keep your eyes on the stolen bases as well. Take a look here at StatCast. He is in the 98th percentile when it comes to sprint speed. I'm just saying, I think Wyatt Langford at some point might have a chance at 50-50. For the Tampa Bay Rays, I'll go with their top prospect, Carson Williams, one of the top prospects aspects in all of baseball, Carson Williams, I think, is going to be a very solid player. He does it all. He's a disciplined hitter with power, with speed, and he's great defensively at shortstop. I think he's going to be a great player in the next few years. Having a solid year in the minors, hitting .256 with an .821 OPS, including a .352 on base, 20 home runs with 33 stolen bases. There is definitely raw power that he has not tapped into yet. He has a good frame at 6'2", only 180 pounds. He could definitely add a little bit more size there. Now, he already has speed. Could he approach 50-50 at some point? Sure, I definitely think so. I feel like probably more likely he's going to be just one of those really good all-around players like Francisco Lindor, where he'll give you, somewhere around 30 home runs per year, around 30 stolen bases while playing some great defense. I don't know if he's going to be a 50-50 kind of a guy, but I think he's going to be a great player. For the Boston Red Sox, I'll go with Christian Campbell. Now, at this time last year, you might not have heard the name Christian Campbell. You heard all about the big three, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Kyle Teal, but now it looks like they got a big four because Christian Campbell has absolutely exploded this year in the minor leagues. He's hitting .330 with a .997 OPS, which includes a .439 on base. That is absolutely disgusting, with 20 home runs and 24 stolen bases. Now, take a look at the height. He's 6'3", 191 pounds. He could definitely add some size onto that frame. He could fill out a little bit more, so I wonder if there's even more power to tap into. He's got a lot of exit velocity. He's got incredible bat speed. I definitely think you could see more power for Campbell. Now, when it comes to the speed, he's got 24 stolen bases this year. He could definitely build upon that. Now, will he get to 50-50? I got no idea, but he is showing a lot of promise this year. For the Cincinnati Reds, I'll go with Elly De La Cruz. Well, this one was easy because he's already checked off one of the boxes with stolen bases at 64. He's got 24 home runs on the year. He's 6'5", 200 pounds, only 22 years old. He absolutely can add some more power over the next few years. He easily has a chance at 50-50 at some point in his career. For the Colorado Rockies, I'll go with Brenton Doyle. Brenton Doyle was absolutely terrible back in 2023, but this year, he's put together quite the campaign, hitting .264 with a .770 OPS, 22 home runs, and 29 stolen bases. So 22 home runs, maybe he could build upon that in the next couple of years. He's only 26 years old. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. This guy is massive, and he's got Coors Field helping him out, so I don't see why he couldn't possibly approach 50 home runs. And this year, he's got 29 stolen bases. So maybe add a little bit more there. Who knows? Maybe he could be an under-the-radar candidate here. For the Kansas City Royals, I'll go with Bobby Witt Jr. Earlier, I mentioned Gunnar Henderson would be getting more eyeballs if it wasn't for the crazy season Aaron Judge is having, but Bobby Witt Jr. would absolutely be getting all the eyeballs for MVP if it wasn't for Aaron Judge. This guy is having a phenomenal season, hitting .331 with a .985 OPS, 32 home runs, 30 stolen bases, all while playing great defense at shortstop. Bobby Witt definitely has a chance at 50-50. He's only 24 years old. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. I think he can even add a bit more power here over the next few years, especially when he goes into his prime years. Definitely one of the best candidates on this list to get 50-50. For the Detroit Tigers, I'm going to go with Bryce Rayner. Now, I'm going to go very outside the box here and go with the guy they just picked up in the first round in this year's draft, Bryce Rayner. Now, there is a lot of upside with Rayner. As you can see here, he's got a 60 power tool. That's because of the high exit velocities he's shown in high school, along with a big frame. He's 6'3", just under 200 pounds, gets a lot of comparisons to Corey Seager. So I definitely think this is a guy that could touch at least 30 home runs, maybe 40, who knows, maybe even 50 at some point down the road. But he's also got some speed, not a ton of it, 55 on the run tool, but he has shown some good quickness out there. Now, will he be a 50-50 guy? I don't know about that, but out of all the guys in the Tigers organization, I'd say, at least right now, he's got the most upside to try and get it. For the Minnesota Twins, I'll go with Walker Jenkins. There's a lot to like with the 5th overall pick from last year's draft in Walker Jenkins. He gets a lot of comps to Josh Hamilton because of his size and the big left-handed swing. He's 6'3", 210 pounds at 19 years old. This guy is already looking like a beef castle out there. But as for the year he's having so far in the minors, really solid numbers, hitting .282 with an .833 OPS, a .394 on base. As you can see here, only 6 home home runs. Now, you might be thinking that's not really all that much, but the Twins, they're really just working on building the overall profile with Jenkins. I mean, as you can see here, he's got a 394 on base. So they're working all of the smaller things. They're going to let that power come along as he grows older here. And he's got 17 stolen bases. So I wonder if maybe this guy could have a shot at 50-50 down the road. For the Chicago White Sox, I'll go with Luis Robert. There's not a whole lot to like with the White Sox these days, but they do have one guy that could maybe have a 50-50 season if he stays healthy in Luis Robert. Now, the problem here, he might not even be with the White Sox in 2025. They could end up trading him this coming offseason, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But Luis Robert, when he's healthy, he absolutely could be a guy to at least approach that feat. Now, this year, he's having a very down year. He had a hip injury this year, so he's been very inconsistent at the plate, only hitting .225, a .663 OPS, 14 homers, 22 stolen bases. Now, last year, he had 38 home runs and 20 stolen bases. So, he has that speed. Is it going to be 50 stolen base kind of speed? I mean, he's just about to go into his prime years. I mean, who knows? Maybe he could end up getting there. We know he could hit for power. Can he also add the speed and maybe get to 50-50? I'll probably say there's more of a chance of him not doing it because of the injuries, but he definitely has that superstar potential. And last but not least, for the New York Yankees, I got Jason Dominguez. I definitely think the Martian could have a shot at 50-50 at some point in his career. He could definitely be a special player. He's one of the top prospects in baseball for a while now. Now, this year, he was rehabbing in the minor leagues after getting elbow surgery, but putting up great numbers, hitting .314 with an .880 OPS, 11 home runs, 16 stolen bases, over 58 games. Those are really solid numbers. Now, with Jason Dominguez, I definitely think there's a chance he could add some more power. He hasn't fully shown it in the minor leagues, but this guy has exit velocities off the charts. I mean, go back to last year, hitting his first home run, Oppo, off Justin Verlander. I'm just saying, but Fangraphs, they give him a 60 raw power, they give him a 60 game power for the future, 55 currently, and they give him a 60 speed. So I think at some point you could see Dominguez at least approach that 50-50 mark. If we're actually to go here to last year in the minor leagues across AA, AAA, and a short stint in the major leagues, he had 41 stolen bases. I think that power will come on eventually. He's got a lot of it. We'll just have to wait and see. But those are my picks for guys that I think could be 50-50 players. Again, I don't think all of these players are going to get to 50-50. I just wanted to go with the players that had the best shot of getting to it. But let me know who you think could have a shot at getting to 50-50 down below in the comments. But everyone, that's all I got for right now. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.